Welcome to Matters of DeCorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. There have obviously been some changes. It's been a little while. The new teeth in the hair, and I thought I'd take this opportunity to talk a little bit about my alter ego, Uncle Drac, and how he was created, and what I'm using him for, and what I hope to do with him, and no. Nah, this isn't gonna do. Um, I'll be back. So, Uncle Drac. The origins of Uncle Drac are fairly simple. They're Halloween origins. I was at a party. I was dressed in the only thing I had to wear, which was this pseudo-Renaissance black merchantman's outfit. More than one person mentioned that I looked like I was some sort of Saturday morning horror movie host from the 70s. And it was suggested that I could get my own television show in torrents. If you have watched all of the videos on this channel, one, thank you. Two, you will have seen that episode that was made for Torrance City Cable, Uncle Drac's Magical Clubhouse. It won an award for comedy. The Stanley Award, given out by Torrance City Cable, named after the founder of the company. Torrance is a wonderful program where they will train you and loan you equipment to make your own video production to be shown on Torrance City Cable, just for being a resident of Torrance. It's a condition of the fiber optic lines that were laid in. The company got to lay their fiber optic lines, Verizon, I believe, but they also had to contribute towards a world-class studio, and it really is. I do more of this because that was exhausting, and my health has been in decline ever since. But I have had a large amount of time to consider origins. The original origin for Uncle Drac was he was a supervillain. He failed. He has a television show now. That's not bad. It comprises a lot of things that I find near and dear, particularly the failed part. I exert a lot of my personal frustrations through Uncle Drac. The crushing mediocrity that I so often find is a condition of my life, the inability to achieve to any great degree of success. The drive. The villain part, though, aside from the fact that the character that I was dressed at that Halloween night appeared to be somewhat villainous. I had my hair dyed back for that. Full beard in those days. This is what I can safely and effectively grow these days with radiation treatments. It goes well with new teeth. Why a supervillain? Oh, we've discussed heroes, we've discussed villains, we've discussed the qualities of a villain. I kind of admire the qualities of a villain. In particular, that a villain is broken and a villain is driven. I experience both of these in my daily life. Certainly now. Uncle Drac, as a character, in my mind, has gone through treatments for cancer. To a certain degree, he didn't fare as well as I did. But he's still around, and growing, making himself more of a presence. I've been doing sketches. Got my wife convinced to help me make some costuming pieces. This fits again, for the first time in God knows how long. So does this. But Uncle Drac needs a coat. Something piratey and flowing. I don't think he started as a pirate. I don't think pirate's where he began. When you think about supervillains, you know, the classic Bond villains go before your eyes. And you know I have my problems with some of those. Art Goldfinger in particular. Terrible villain. But some of the best villains ever were Bond villains. Scaramanga, the man with the golden gun. Bond villain. Christopher Lee, at his best. In his prime. Characters I have looked up to have been villains. Supervillains, as it were, because their opponents were not mere heroes. James Bond's a superhero. He's a super spy. He defines the super spy genre. So, Bond villains are, by definition, supervillains. I grew up with the Adam West Batman series in the 1970s. It was campy, it was trite, it was cliché, but the villains... Frank Gorshin, Cesar Romero is a Joker. Eartha Kitt's Catwoman. Those people acted the hell out of those villains and gave me a sense of what villainous proportions could be. I was a little disappointed the first time I dug into the comic books and looked at those characters until the Joker caught up to me and surpassed me in many ways. You look at the villains that are faced by actual superheroes, comic book superheroes. They're broad in scope these days, have a huge amount of depth, because good writers got a hold of them. The villains were always the major part of any comic book story. You can have one superhero, but you need a dozen villains or more just to keep them on their toes, because villains get caught, villains go away for a while, they're punished or they've escaped and have to lie low. You need another villain to fill in until the last villain and all the ones before them have recovered. And when you talk about classic superhero villains, there's Lex Luthor, smart. I like that quality in a character, much less a villain. A little crazy, maybe misguided, but smart. Then there's Ra's al Ghul, the Batman villain. He not only is dead smart, well organized, has lots of backing, but he has a motive. He has an unbeatable motive. He's trying to save the Earth. He's trying to save the Earth from humanity, and doing so means taking massive chunks out of humanity, if not all of it. He's been toned down, made worse, gone back and forth, but that was the initial thrust of the character. He had a noble goal. And he was still a supervillain. Someone Batman admired, even if he had to defeat him. He was defeated over and over again. Still keeps coming back. Can't kill Ra's al Ghul. Between the organization and his ability to come back from the dead, good recurring villain. So I had cause to think about Uncle Drac while I was sick. A lot of time sitting down. I had a lot of YouTube time. Found YouTubers that I admire the work of. Reviewers, mostly people through Channel Awesome. Very fond of Linkara. Great comic reviewer. Good writer. Hell of a voice. Good storyline in the back of his reviews. Nostalgia critic, of course. With those storylines and those performances, that effort, that brings me here, on the verge of taking Uncle Drac and doing more things with him. Uncle Drac, as a supervillain, plays computer games at the moment, because that's where my strength is at. I don't have the strength for much more. But if you will watch this channel, you will see a supervillain plays Fallout 4, and a supervillain plays No Man's Sky, and fairly soon a supervillain plays Deus Ex Mankind Divided, which I'm very looking forward to. And these. I'm not going to stop doing these. In fact, I'm going to try and do them more often. This one's been cooking for a little while. Where did Uncle Drac come from? Uncle Drac was just a guy, once upon a time. Creative background, perhaps. He got pushed around a lot as a kid. Junior high, high school, bad years for him. Decided to learn how to protect himself. Took some basics in judo, aikido, defensive arts. Took to them. Got confident. Got beat up less. Took some harder forms, Shotokan karate, whatnot, what he could find at the community colleges down the street. Found the works of Bruce Lee, learned Jeet Kune Do, learned how to adapt other martial arts to his personal fighting form. Traveled to learn, to get examples of different arts, different styles, different stances, different ways of being confident, building himself up, learning. Saw a lot of injustices while he was out there. And no one was doing anything about it. The poor, downtrodden, the helpless stepped on, people more helpless than he had ever been because of the privilege that he grew up in. People who didn't have the option of going and learning how to protect themselves. And Uncle Drac had a message for the people who would take advantage of those poor unfortunates. That message was, if someone doesn't care about the laws that you hide behind, you can be touched. And you can be hurt. And you can be a victim too. It's not a pleasant message, it's a message of violence, but though violence is a last resort, it's an option. Breaking heads is always on the table, whether we admit it or not. We might like to think that we are people of peace, but push one person far enough, the option gets on the table, and it will get used. This is a supervillain's point of view, of course. There are similarities between my upbringing, my raising, my philosophies, and Uncle Drac's. The use of violence is not one of them. But Uncle Drac doesn't just beat people up. He doesn't just use violence. He's a violence artist. He uses violence precisely, with efficiency, but artfully. He adapts more brutal forms these days, Krav Maga, Sistema. some animal forms of kung fu, some Wing Chun, some dragon. And mostly, he sticks to hurting people who hurt other people. He has that nobility of a supervillain. He takes it too far, because a supervillain does, and then someone in an afro shows up and punches him out and everything's fine again. These philosophies guide how I play the games when I'm playing as Uncle Drac. These philosophies guide the art and design that I'm working on when I'm designing things for him, when I'm asking and commissioning pieces. Uncle Drac needs a pistol and a sword. He needs a coat. I've got him a good pair of boots. He needs a better shirt. I'll probably need a cooling vest so I can wear my cool coat wherever I want to go and still not pass out. There are some things coming up. I'm probably going to need to be a supervillain from time to time, or at least have that perseverance, that determination. I used it from time to time, getting to this point. Clear of the cancer, but the recovery from it, they say 5 years. It's going to take about 5 years to recover from the process of the 7 weeks of treatment that I took. I fit into these again. It's a good start. There may be some spinal surgery coming up too. Slipped disc in the middle of my back is not treating me well. It may be possible for a neurosurgeon to correct it, which would be wonderful because then I'll have some more flexibility. I'll be able to move and walk for longer once I've recovered. This could become the year that Scott spends sick on the couch. I'm not looking forward to that. The recovery? Yes. I can probably find a place to learn Krav Maga within walking distance of this apartment. I may just do that. Not that I ever intend to lay violence on the table as an option. I'm a man of peace. I like to counsel thought, consideration, conciliation. I like to find middle grounds. It's hard these days. We are in a society where middle grounds are difficult to come across, and becoming more so every day. Maybe a supervillain can moderate things a little bit. I've got to be careful how much into the supervillain thing I get. It becomes very comfortable. I become more enthusiastic and more animated when I'm doing things as Uncle Drac. I have to be careful because I can exhaust myself very easily being this. I also have to be very careful because if I get to be too good of a supervillain, someone may try and elect me president. I'm not ready. Neither is Uncle Drac, believe me. Well, that's all for now. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy the video, like, share, subscribe, leave me a comment. If you'll enjoy leaving me a comment, I'll enjoy getting one. If you really dig this, visit my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottCorum. Have a look, see if you're interested. Consider contributing. This is going to be a hard year. It's going to be hard for me to get back on my feet doing the things that bring money in. I can use the help. In the meantime, this is Scott Corum. This is what has mattered to me. I'll see you next time on the next Matters of DeCorum.